Hello, my name is Jim Gurman and welcome to today's episode of
Kilimanjaro.
Today we're going to be talking about my new toy here. This is a 1976 Leblond Regal Servoshift lathe. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is, why I got it, and what I'm going to do with it. So what it is a 15-inch lathe. That means it can swing something 15 inches in diameter. It's the 54-inch model. That means that between the centers here, it could swing something 54 inches long. That works out to be a total overall length of about 106 inches when it's got the case on the end here. And it weighs about 3,000 pounds. So the servo shift part of it means that it has this nice dial here and a hydraulic motor and a hydraulic valve that this controls to switch gears. That's in contrast to some lathes that would have some levers here that would help you switch the gears. This one, you just turn this dial to whatever speed you want and it switches gears. So a little bit more about the lathe, how it works. It's got a feed reverse lever here, it's got a lever here, and there's one actually missing down here to control the feeds and speeds if you're doing threading or if you're just having it move automatically. It's also got this glass dial here that helps you set that. There should be a little nameplate here that would tell you in which one of these positions all these levers need to be to achieve the right feed or threading if you're doing threading with it. So it's got a nice chuck that it came with here. It looks a little beat up, but it seems like it's a pretty high quality chuck. It's a 3-jaw, but it is adjustable. There's some screws back here that let you center it so that you can dial it in perfectly to have no run out if you want. It's on the other side here, we've got the carriage. It did come with a taper attachment, which I've started to disassemble already. And of course the tailstock's down here. So when I got it, it was in pretty rough shape. I got it was actually listed as for parts only. I did only pay $750 for it, so I think it was still a good deal. These lathes can get very expensive if they're in good shape. But as I'll go over in a minute, it is not in good shape. There's a lot of parts that are broken or missing on it. The good news is, however, except for a little ding right here, the bed seems to be in very good shape. There is very little wear on it. There's a little lip here that doesn't get worn as the carriage is moved, but it's only about 1 or maybe 2 thousandths high, so that indicates that the bed is in pretty good shape. Obviously, it's not in perfect shape, but it's pretty good. And there's a couple of nicks and dings here that really shouldn't affect the usage, nor should this really affect the usage. It slides over it nicely and doesn't seem to hit it or anything. So, going over what's kind of wrong with it. The bolt that holds down the tailstock is missing. That should be easy to fix. The tailstock came with this drill bit that was jammed in it, and as you can see, there's a lot of rust on here. This is Morse taper. This is supposed to be a ground surface. This rust is also on the corresponding piece, and because of that, the brass nut at the end of it got completely chewed up when I tried to take this out. So I've got to put a new brass nut in there. I'll make a separate video on that, on how I'm going to do that. Hopefully that'll be pretty interesting. It also didn't come with a tool post holder, so I ended up getting one off eBay for pretty cheap that I'm pretty happy with. I'll go into that in another video. Some other things that are broken on it. The handle that should stick out here, that's broken off. There's a control rod here. You can see somebody appears to have tried to raise that back on at some point or weld it back on, and that has also fallen off since then. There's another handle that would go here that's broken off here to let you control it from either area. This is also broken off. This handle actually took off when I was moving it, and I have that handle and I can put that back on, so that's not a problem. The gears, however, all look in great shape. I've looked inside the head case here, and that all looks like it's in great shape as well. So everything runs real smooth on it. It sounds real nice. So I'm pretty happy with the condition of it, except for the handles that are broken. So what's my plan with this? The handles that are mostly broken are to control the lathe itself, to turn it on, put it in reverse, apply the brake, that sort of thing. This lathe came with a 7.5 horsepower 3-phase motor, and it also has a separate motor to control the hydraulics, or to power the hydraulics for the shifting. So those are both 3-phase motors. Of course, I'm in a residence here. This is my garage, you can see. So I don't have 3-phase power here. I only have single phase, so I'm going to run this off a phase converter. Now, phase converters don't like to run 2 separate motors at the same time. That's the problem, or the good news with that is that you don't need to run the hydraulic motor while the main motor is running. So I can use one phase converter and switch it between the main spindle motor and the hydraulic motor to let me change gears when I need to, and then run the main spindle when I also need to do that. Since these two handles are broken, I could go and replace them. Leblond actually still exists. They've been bought and sold a number of times over the years, but they still exist, and they still sell parts for this lathe. The parts, however, are extremely expensive. It seems that if for a lot of the parts, Leblond will actually just go custom make you that part if you want it, which is great if you need it. However, it means that this handle here is about $700. The handle down here is significantly cheaper. It's only about $100. So instead of doing that, I think what my plan is going to be is I'm going to use the benefits of the VFD, and instead of controlling it via these levers and this bar that goes down to a big switch at the end, since I've got to use the VFD anyway, I think I'm just going to build a remote control panel for the VFD that will let me, and then I can use that to apply the brake, reverse the motor, that sort of thing, directly from the VFD. I think that'll be a lot easier, let me use the power of the VFD, as well as not have to replace these handles. So I can just take this bar, this control bar out, not worry about those handles, and use that to control the spindle on the motor. Other than that, I'm going to replace some of the other broken parts with the things from Leblond. This nameplate, for instance, I'm just going to get one from them. This handle here, I think I'm actually just going to make one. It's just a press fit in there, so I think I might just make one and push that in there. This bolt here, and there's a block on the back side of that. I think I'll just make that, and I think I can get the replacement nut for this from, it's just an off-the-shelf part I can get from McMaster or something like that. So that should be pretty good. The rest of it, I'm going to strip the old paint off it. This gray color here, you can see, that was the original color. So I'm going to strip this whitish off-white color that's in pretty bad shape off and repaint it so it looks a little bit nicer. And I think that's going to be all it really needs. I'm going to take the gearboxes apart when I strip it. So when I do that, if I see any issues there, I'm going to clean them out, replace all the fluids and that sort of stuff. And I think I should be good to go. So we're down at the business end of the lathe here. I got the garage doors open here, so it's going to be a little bit louder, but I just wanted to show you what's going on down here. So at the bottom here, we've got the big 7.5 horsepower motor, which is connected via 3 belts up to this pulley here. They're obviously not on the lathe right now. That goes into the gearbox here, where all the gears are, and then it comes out here onto the drive shaft, which is then connected via this tooth belt onto the spindle shaft here. So when the spindle shaft is turning, there's a gear here that goes over to this large gear here, which then goes into the quick change gearbox to adjust your either automatic feed or your threading. So what's really nice about this lathe, it has this double tooth gear here. I'm not sure you can see it on the camera, but it's a double tooth gear that is for metric. So this, if I wanted to set this up for metric, I could pull this off, flip it around, and attach another gear here to do metric threading if I needed to. Now those gears are very expensive. However, if I really needed to, I could probably either cut my own, buy it from Leblond, or probably even 3D print one if I just needed for one thing. So that's one thing that's really nice on here, that I have that capability if I ever end up needing it. So the other thing that's kind of odd down here are these orange plastic gears that you can see. So what those are is when the hydraulic motor kicks in to shift the gears to make sure that they mesh properly, it actually ends up rotating this, and when the brake is installed, or when the brake is active, it will then jog this pulley back and forth. So I'm going to turn that on for you just so you can see how it works here. So this is the shaft coming off the hydraulic motor, and as you can see, when I fire that up, it spins and then turns this crank, which is connected to the back side of this pulley on the brake side, so it's not working right now because the brake isn't on. And that will move this back and forth this way to make sure the gears mesh very nicely. This actually goes a lot quicker than this. I've only got it running at 10% speed because there's no hydraulic on right now, so I don't want to run it too fast. So now I'm going to show you another clip of it actually running when I had the belts on it. And you can see just how it runs, to show you a short clip of that. This is running off a 2 horsepower VFD right now. It's the one I had. You actually use it for my Bridgeport. So it can't start it up real fast, but it is able to run it. And I've actually made some decent depth cuts with only a 2 horsepower motor, and it seems to work just fine. So here we go. So that's it for now. If you've got any questions about the lathe, leave them in the comments below. I'll try to answer them. If you want to see more what I end up doing with this lathe, how I'm going to refurbish it a little bit, what I end up using it for, feel free to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.